of cash. The mystery of Melissa Caddick and the missing millions had confounded detectives. That was until the sea offered up a gruesome clue.
A shoe was located on the shoreline of the Ordana National Park. Within that shoe were the remains of a human foot. DNA from the foot was last night matched to a DNA sample from Melissa Caddick's toothbrush and from family members.
The discovery of Melissa's foot nearly 400 kilometres from where she was last seen was a plot twist that no one saw coming.
It's a mystery, and a mystery every time that you think you're going to get an answer. It throws up more questions.
Tonight, we can answer some of the biggest questions of all.
Where did the money go? Where did the money go?
As for the first time, financial investigators take us inside their search for the truth and reveal a major breakthrough. They've located a hidden fortune. The multi-million-dollar question: where is all the money now?
There's a share portfolio which is quite significant. We're confident that there will be quite a healthy return to investors.
And after months of silence, now Melissa's family speak about this sorry saga.
It's a hard time for your family.
It's a hard time for everybody. And it will take a very, very long time for everybody to get over it and everybody to get back to normal.
This spot right now is ground zero.
Until last week, few people had heard of Bondi Beach, a 3-kilometre stretch of sand on New South Wales' south coast, near the holiday haven of Merimbula. But the quiet hideaways now become the latest location in a crime drama that's captivated so much of Australia.
It will be left to the coroner to establish what happened.
As police sniffer dogs scoured the sand here for more clues on the woman who's quickly become one of the country's most infamous fraudsters, 60 Minutes special investigator Gary Jubelin was also on scene.
It's a breakthrough, but it opens up so many options again.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but certainly from the investigator's point of view, it is a significant breakthrough because you can actually lock in, that's a fact that you can lock in that at this point in time, Melissa's deceased and the body part has washed up here.
The question now is if this is suicide or something more sinister. Either way, Gary believes a person close to Melissa knows more than they're letting on.
I think with the nature of the crime that Melissa has allegedly committed, it would be very difficult for someone else not to be aware of those activities or perhaps be an accomplice, be actively involved in that. If there is an accomplice, I see that as a potential motive for someone that might have brought harm to Melissa.
Do you think police would be able to rule out foul play?
I don't think they could rule it out at this stage, and as they've been at pains to point out, they're keeping all options open, and I think that's sensible in a situation like this.
No matter what's happened, one thing's for sure. Melissa leaves behind a devastated 15-year-old son, as well as a brother, her parents, and her husband, Anthony Coletti.
My sincerest condolences to all of those people. I hope it puts some sort of closure on it for them.
This is Melissa's father-in-law, Rodo Coletti. He's asked us not to show his full face after becoming the target of wild and unfair speculation online in relation to Melissa's disappearance. Tonight, he wants to have his say.
I think the whole Melissa Caddick thing has taken on a life of its own. I was guilty by association. I am Anthony's father, and it would appear that some people have taken it upon themselves to throw assertions, fraudulent statements, lies, defamation of all sorts against myself, my character, and my profession, which is just what I could not stand for.
Well, I mean, Let's clear some of this speculation up. I mean,
Sure.
you've been accused of killing Melissa Caddick. Did you kill her? You've been accused of helping her mastermind financial fraud. Did you have any part in that at all?
Nothing whatsoever.
And I'm interested as well to know, do you think your son Anthony was capable of helping mastermind a plot like this?
Well, no, I don't. Anthony's a hairdresser, a damn good hairdresser, but I don't believe he has the capacity to know what a financial scheme is. I don't think he could have been in it at all or known what was going on. Even if he didn't know what was going on, he would believe everything he was told.
Anthony's become quite withdrawn from his family since Melissa vanished without a trace in November last year.
We are asking the community to help bring Melissa home. That is all.
The unemployed hairdresser and DJ came under heavy scrutiny after initially being evasive about his wife's whereabouts.
There's nothing else that I can give you further.
Questions were also asked about why Anthony waited more than 30 hours to report his wife missing. But despite the mountain of evidence against Melissa, her husband is apparently still convinced she's innocent.
He's convinced that Melissa's been set up once again, believing everything he's been told. I don't know if he's going to come crashing down eventually when the reality of what she's done finally hits with him.
So you think Anthony still doesn't believe that Melissa's done anything wrong?
When I spoke with him, he certainly didn't, no. He believed she was set up, and he was going to look at suing ASIC and everybody else for raiding their house and so on and so forth, to which my comment was quite simple. They acted on a duly issued warrant for a search. You have no grounds for anything.
It's obviously a very challenging time for him. He'd be grieving, he'd be confused. Do you think Anthony's in denial?
I believe he is in denial, delusional denial. He doesn't want to believe that the woman he loves and married is capable of it, but unfortunately the proof's stacking up so much against her.
Love is blind sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely. But once again, it's because he cares for the woman. Simple as that.
But the facts don't lie. Melissa Caddick ripped off more than 60 investors to the tune of $25 million. It turns out Rodo was unwittingly caught up in the scam in a different way. He's a justice of the peace, and Melissa would forge his signature to help verify her bogus documents. Her father-in-law didn't realise this until he sat down with us.
Have you ever done any work for Melissa's business, Maliver?
Absolutely not. I've never been asked, but I never would do it anyway.
You know your signature turns up in some of her business's documents.
Shouldn't.
Does that look like your signature?
I'll never look at it. That is not my signature.
Did you know that she was trading off your name as well?
Not at all. Once again, that is not, if you see my signature, it's very distinctive, and that is not it. Not mine.
How do you feel knowing that she's been doing that behind your back?
Well, considering all the other things she's supposed to have done, what am I supposed to feel?
Not surprised, I take it.
No.
Perhaps Melissa's most despicable crime is ripping off her own elderly parents. This week we learned the extent of it. She took more than $1 million from her mother and father, who were both aged in their 80s. They gave their daughter the money on the understanding she was going to invest it in property, but they've now discovered she used it to fund her lifestyle. The vast majority of Melissa's victims were her family and her friends.
This is like a mystery story. I don't know if it's a bad one or a good one. But just the plot thickens.
It's been a week of mixed emotions for Billy McMore and Michelle Leslie.
So do you think there'll be any justice now?
Yeah, well, now that they found this, I don't think we're going to see any justice.
Yeah.
Michelle was a close friend of Melissa's, who unfortunately also became a client and now has lost the couple's entire superannuation.
Was there a small part of you that was sad, that mourned when the foot washed up?
I felt sorry for the son
And the parents.
and the parents.
The family, because it's grieving.
It's still a person, a human.
I mean, parents of murderers and armed hold-up, they're still parents and they still care about their child. They still go to court when someone's been accused of something. And I think for her parents, it would be very, very hard.
You feel sorry for the family. I mean, were you sad for Melissa?
A little bit. Only a little bit. Because it's still a person, it's still life.
Since losing their nest egg, Billy and Michelle have had to up stumps from Sydney and start a new life a few hours up the coast to reduce their living expenses.
In terms of the hope of ever getting your money back, do you just assume you'll get nothing, and if you get anything above that, it's a bonus?
Yep.
Yeah, correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've put that to bed
Yep.
a long time ago. It's just gone, and there's no point in just thinking, oh, it's going to be there tomorrow. They'll find it under the pillow. It's not there.
But tonight we can reveal financial sleuths have found a stash of cash. Melissa Caddick loved to flaunt her wealth. There was the mansion in the exclusive suburb of Dover Heights with stunning views over Sydney Harbour. In the garage there were a series of high-powered sports cars, and in the wardrobe, more than $1 million of high-end clothing and jewellery. And when she and her husband Anthony left home for their regular luxury holidays to Aspen and Fiji, they certainly made sure they did it in style.
I just find that really difficult to get my head around how somebody could spend that much money on private jets, the lavish holidays to Aspen, and the lavish way that she spent on jewellery and so forth. That's really, I think, what and why this matter continues to be of interest to people.
No one knows the finances of Melissa Caddick better than Bruce Gleeson. He's the court-appointed liquidator who's been tasked with combing through every aspect of her business dealings. This is the first time he's agreed to an interview since he took on the case more than 2 months ago.
You do this work for long enough and you think that nothing will surprise you, but then you get a matter like this and the level of interest and the level of mystery has absolutely blown me away.
When is the first time you've uncovered evidence from that Melissa was defrauding her clients?
We have gone back to the incorporation or the start of the company, Maliva, and we believe that almost immediately upon it starting that she was misusing investor funds.
You think she set up the business to defraud people?
There was certainly an intention to misuse investor funds.
Melissa set up the business back in 2013, but little did her friends and family know at the time she was using their hard-earned retirement savings to fund her lavish lifestyle. She'd boast about how successful she was to lure in new clients, often bragging about owning the chalet she holidayed at in Aspen each year. But Bruce has now discovered that was just one of Melissa's many lies.
The reality was that at no point in time, based on the investigations that we've done so far, has she ever owned the Aspen property. Despite a few years back her claiming to people that she had acquired it.
So this all goes to that idea that she had this facade of success that she tried to portray to her investors, but it was all a lie.
Absolutely. The extravagant lifestyle was being funded principally by the investors.
We've now uncovered an even more extraordinary twist in the Aspen property deception. Such was Melissa Caddick's dedication to living a lie that she actually made reference to that property in her will and left it to a family member. That's despite the fact that she would have known she'd only ever rented the apartment. To get to the bottom of Melissa's fraud, investigators have had to study her mindset as much as her money movements.
What sort of psychological traits does it take to try and pull off a scam like this?
I think somebody that is very charismatic is a key trait. There's a level of self-confidence and also a level of invincibility.
I'm fascinated to know, did Melissa sense that the net was closing in, or were there no telltale signs that she was prepping for the end of all of this?
I think classic with people that operate Ponzi schemes, Tom, they never think that the scheme will end. There's, as I said, this level of invincibility that it will just keep going on. But history shows us that all Ponzi schemes fail at some point.
Melissa Caddick's scam failed on November 11 last year, when her mansion was raided by the corporate watchdog ASIC and federal police. This footage from the operation is the last known sighting of Melissa before she disappeared without a trace, along with $25 million of her investors' funds. But now we can reveal some of their money has been discovered, hidden away in investments.
There's a share portfolio which is quite significant.
When you say quite significant, so there are some funds that were genuinely invested that could go back to the people that trusted Melissa?
Yes, that's correct. At the moment, we're confident that there will be quite a healthy return to investors.
I know you can't give me specifics in terms of actual dollar amounts, but a significant amount?
We believe it will be significant. There's still some challenges along the way that we've got to resolve, and certainly if they can be resolved, then that will enable that return to be at a quite healthy amount.
The discovery is the first good news investors have received in months, but investigators stress it's important to point out here that while Melissa was using her clients' funds to buy the shares, it wasn't actually for them. It was all for herself. She made the purchases in her own name, and she kept all the dividends for herself as well, using them to continue funding her big spending ways. But while there may now be some money for Melissa's family and friends, there is one particular family member who will be missing out.
Will Melissa's husband, Anthony, get a share of any of those assets?
He's not a creditor of the company or of Melissa that we can establish, so we don't see him as part of that picture at this point.
So as it stands, Anthony gets nothing?
As I said, we don't see him as a creditor.
While there have been plenty of developments for genuine creditors over the last week, they say that such is their distrust of Melissa that they can't help but question perhaps the biggest breakthrough in this case so far.
She could still be alive.
Three teenage boys found a shoe and remains of a foot.
There have been some major bombshells in the case of Melissa Caddick this last fortnight.
Police were able to confirm that the bones found within the ASIC sports shoe belonged to her.
But these days, nothing surprises her friends Billy McMore and Michelle Leslie after they were ripped off by the high-flying investor.
When you heard the news about Melissa last week and the discovery, what was the first thing you texted a friend?
Oh, my first reaction is it's only a foot. Where's the rest of the body? Is there cement evidence to say she's actually dead? And then when I looked back at it and then saw that it was only a foot, I've gone, she's capable of anything.
What do you mean by she's capable of anything?
Well, she could still be alive. Maybe it's just something that she wanted to put out there to calm everything down. If you find a foot, that means that she must be dead, but who would know?
I mean, it does feel extremely unlikely, but you honestly think she's capable of throwing out
Absolutely.
a red herring like that?
Absolutely. Yep.
One of the enduring mysteries of this case is if Melissa did go off the cliffs near her house, then how did she manage to get down here without being detected by a single CCTV camera? The route from her house is several hundred metres. It goes past a lot of mansions with plenty of security cameras, yet none of them saw a thing. Do you find it still quite surprising that in such an affluent area where there's so many CCTV cameras that none of them have managed to pick her up?
I would say that'd be unlikely. If someone walked out of a home with intent to kill themselves, I don't think they're going to be worried about whether they're being captured on CCTV footage or not. If I was looking at this investigation, and I'm sure I'm not saying things that wouldn't have been done, perhaps police are going to go back and check those CCTV footage to see if anything's been missed in light of the new evidence that's come forward with the discovery of the bones from Melissa's foot.
60 Minutes special investigator Gary Jubelin has been analysing the case and believes another aspect police will be digging deeper on is the area where Melissa's foot washed ashore. It turns out she was very familiar with this little-known beach, having actually gone on school camps here as a child.
That really got my interest, and that's where I started to think, well, maybe she has been down in this area and this is where she's gone in the water.
Is it a trait sometimes with criminals that they go to areas that they're familiar with?
When people do disappear, in my experience, quite often they go, and I think when we were first talking about Melissa's disappearance, they go to an area that they're comfortable with or familiar with. You'd have to look at the possibility that perhaps she was considering her options for quite some time before, if she did commit suicide, before she decided to kill herself.
Barring another surprising twist, the next step in this case is when the financial investigation brought by the corporate watchdog ASIC returns to court next month.
No, I don't think this is a matter that will go on for months and months. Our priority is to work with the liquidators to get a return to the investors as quickly as we can.
Tim Mullally is ASIC's head of financial services enforcement. He's revealed that the person who first smelled a rat with Melissa and tipped off authorities managed to dodge a serious bullet in the process.
There was concerns raised by people who had been approached to invest in with Ms. Caddick. They were concerned about the information that they'd received.
So the people that gave the initial tip-off never actually invested with Melissa Caddick?
That's my understanding. They made some inquiries. They were a bit concerned with some of the responses that they received and determined that they would not go ahead with that investment.
For those that did lose their money, there could be a payout of sorts soon. It's understood Melissa Caddick's house will be put up for sale in the coming weeks, and local agents tell me it could fetch up to $9 million in the currently booming market. Now, once you take away the amount still owing on the mortgage, that'll mean there'll be an extra $5 million added to the asset pool being split up between the investors, and that's on top of the sizable share portfolio we revealed earlier.
There's only so much hope, only so much room.
Melissa's father-in-law, Rodo Coletti, has spent months trying to correct false rumours implicating him in his daughter-in-law's crimes. You've effectively become collateral damage in this case.
Absolutely.
But now his focus is his son Anthony, who not only has lost his wife, he's lost his entire livelihood. Your son could very soon be homeless. Is he welcome back at Mum and Dad's place?
If he wants to come back, and I'm sure he already knows that.
What's your fatherly advice to Anthony?
If you need us, son, we're there. If and when you need us, we're there. Simple as that. Can't say I do anymore. He's an adult now. You bring your children up and try and teach them the difference between right and wrong, and can only hope that they make the decisions accordingly, but you can't control that.